Sonography Pros and Cons, Part 2. Let's chat. Pro number 1. There is a short amount of schooling required to get into sonography. So most programs for a certificate or associate's degree range from 18 to 24 months. Now there are some 15 and 16-month programs that I've heard of. Don't personally recommend. But in the grand scheme of things, when you think about all the different types of programs that you could go into or degrees that you could go for the amount of money that you make, is definitely something worth investigating. So 18 to 24 months, that is the program itself. Now you do have to take some prerequisites to be able to get into the program, so that does take some time beforehand. But when you think, okay, 2-3 years max to get an associate's degree and to make the amount of money that I mentioned in part 1, then a lot of times it is worth it. Even if you don't want this to be your final career, you want to move on. There are sonographers that go on to become physician assistants. They continue on their schooling, but this will make you enough money so that you can support other endeavors. So you can possibly attend other schools or do online schooling or do whatever other side hustles that you would like to do. A lot of sonographers don't necessarily only do sonography. And when you think about a shorter amount of schooling, that means less tuition you have to pay. That is very important because student loan debt can hold you down. And thankfully, I was able to avoid that. So that was a huge draw for me for choosing this field. Pro number 2 is, generally speaking, you don't have to physically bring work home with you. That was important to me when I thought about, for example, being a teacher. I was like, I don't want to have to bring home papers and grade papers while I'm at home or do things like that. Or I don't want anybody calling me or doing anything while I'm at home. Now, you do have to take call as a sonographer sometimes in certain positions. I currently don't in my position, but generally speaking, you're not doing extra physical work while you're at home, while you're supposed to be home. So when I clock out, I'm done for the day. I don't have to worry about anybody messaging me, anybody calling me, any Teams chats. I live in peace. When I'm not at work, I don't have to worry about what those folks are doing over there. So that was a huge draw for me with choosing this field. Number 3, flexible hours. So not all sonographers have to work 8 to 5 or 8 to 4, 9 to 5. They don't all work day shift. So there are certain positions that you can obtain that have a different schedule than the norm. And a lot of times that can have some perks. So for example, if you work 8 to 5 or 8 to 4:30 as a full-time sonographer Monday through Friday, a lot of times certain errands or things that you would like to do during the day, you're not able to do. There are second shifts available. I have worked second shift and it was like an early second shift. So I enjoyed that because first thing in the morning, I could go do a little bit of errands, do certain things that I wanted to do, volunteering, and then I could go to work and not have to take time off to do certain things. Or I could have a doctor's appointment first thing in the morning and I want to have to take time off to do that. And also there's weekend shifts. There's 7A to 7P, 7P to 7A at certain facilities that you can work at a hospital, for example. And the thing about many of these shifts, for example, the 12-hour weekend shifts, you can work 24 hours and get full-time benefits. So you can pay the same amount for medical insurance as somebody who works 40 hours. That's a win for me. It's a sacrifice, but it's a win at the same time. So there are a variety of shifts that you can work. Each one has its pros and cons, but it really just depends on where you live. And I will get to that more later in the video. Pro number 4. This was another thing that I was looking for when I was Googling a bunch of jobs, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. I did not want a job where I had to stand all day or sit all day. I wanted to be able to do both. And with sonography, that definitely hits the mark. You do a variety of sitting and standing. And if you're in the hospital, you have the opportunity to kind of walk around a little bit more. So I really appreciated that because there are health issues that I've learned while becoming a sonographer that can come from jobs where you only stand all day or you only sit all day. And if I had like an office job and I just had to sit all day, I would get very restless. So I'm glad that this job allows me the opportunity to change up my body positions throughout the day. Pro number 5 is you get to work independently and interdependently. I really like that because overall, I do work better independently. You do a lot of things. You perform each exam for the most part by yourself. You can just zone in and do your own thing. But you can also, depending on which shift, if you have coworkers working with you, then you can ask somebody else, hey, can I get a second pair of eyes on this? Or what do you think about this? How should I word this? And that can be very beneficial. So you're not boxed in with sonography. If you work well independently, this can be a great field for you. And if you work well interdependently, then you do still have that opportunity to collaborate with your coworkers. Now, let's move on to the cons. I do not have the same amount of cons for this video as I do the pros, because for me, this job, the pros outweigh the cons. Con number 1 is it is difficult to find a job initially. So it took me several months to be able to find a job. I was looking for a job for probably 5 months of actively looking for a job before I was actually able to obtain a job. For context, I personally was going on a sabbatical right after school. So before I left school and took that 2-month sabbatical in Spain, I did receive a job offer from one of the clinical practices, and it did not end up working out because I told them I was going on a sabbatical and they did not know if the position would still be open. So I believe it was given to someone else in my program. But this type of thing I have heard from other sonography graduates that they have been looking for a job, and it's just not working out for them. And that is a real issue that you have to take in consideration. Now, I do have a video about finding a job, actually 2 videos about finding a job when you're struggling, but that is a real possibility. Some people, like one of my classmates, she had a job before she even started the program. She had a job lined up, a full-time OBGYN job, and that's why she went into sonography. But not everybody is like that. Some of the best students, they have struggles, and not just me, getting a job. And that can be sometimes if you're living in the same city where there is a program. A lot of times those same graduates will go straight into the jobs that are in that same area. So that moves me to my second con, is that you might have to relocate in order to obtain a job. This is something that you want to keep in mind when you are beginning school, that, okay, just because I graduate doesn't mean I can get a job right away in the area that I want. I might have to move somewhere I don't necessarily want to live, or it's not necessarily ideal, in order to get a foot in this job field, and then afterwards you can get another job. So that is difficult to accept, because it's like a lot of places want you to have experience before they hire you, but how are you going to get experience if you don't get a job? Make it make sense. But don't let that discourage you. There are jobs out there that are willing to train people with no experience. There are jobs out there, because if you want a sonographer bad enough, if you need one bad enough, you will train them. So I would say don't get too discouraged on those things. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed my pros and cons part 2. And if you haven't seen part 1, go check that out. Bye. I'll see you in the next video.